Evan Cole stood at attention in the grand hall of the Varelian Empire. The hall was vast and cold, filled with the scent of metal and strange alien oils. High above, lights glowed like stars, casting shadows on the alien nobles gathered there. Evan's uniform was stiff, his boots polished, but he felt small among the towering Varelians. Their skin shimmered in dark colors, their eyes large and unblinking, and their voices made strange sounds that humans could only hear faintly. At the center of the hall, the alien queen Zarithra sat on her throne. She was enormous, her skin a deep violet, her many eyes scanning the room as though she could see everything at once. Her crown glowed faintly, powered by strange energy the human mind could not fully comprehend. All of the nobles bowed as she spoke, her voice echoing in the hall full of authority. Evan had been assigned as one of her human guards many years ago. He was one of the few humans allowed anywhere near her, a fact that brought him both pride and fear. Humans were no longer rulers of Earth. That planet had fallen decades ago, taken by the Varelians during a war that humans had fought bravely, but ultimately lost. Yet Evan's presence in the palace reminded everyone that humanity still existed, even if only as servants, workers, and a few trusted guards like him. The ceremony was meant to celebrate a new treaty between the Queen and several alien rulers from distant star systems. Each alien delegation had come aboard the palace, hoping to gain favor, trade, and military support. The hall was filled with strange creatures, some with many arms, others with long, flowing tentacles. Their voices rose and fell in strange rhythms as they spoke to one another, all trying to impress the Queen. Evan's eyes scanned the crowd, noting the tension. The aliens were polite, but each seemed ready to strike at the slightest offense. That was the nature of power in the galaxy. Evan knew he had to stay alert, even though humans were considered weak and expendable. He had learned to watch, to read expressions, and to move without drawing attention. Suddenly, the Queen shifted slightly on her throne. She paused mid-sentence, her many eyes widening. The room grew silent. Even the distant sound of the palace machinery seemed to vanish. Evan stepped closer, his instincts screaming that something was wrong. Then, without warning, the Queen collapsed. Her body fell forward, and the energy of her crown flickered wildly. The nobles gasped and stepped back, their long fingers twitching toward their weapons, but no one moved to catch her. Evan lunged forward. He grabbed her arm just before she hit the floor. "She is unwell," he said calmly, though his heart pounded in his chest. The room was in chaos. The alien medics rushed in, floating over to the throne, scanning the Queen with strange devices that glowed in blue and green. "Check her vitals," one of them hissed in the harsh language of the Varelians. Evan could understand enough from years of observation. The medics' scans showed nothing. No broken bones, no disease. The Queen's body seemed fine, but her mind was somewhere else. She twitched slightly, her many eyes rolling in different directions as though she were trapped in a dream or a memory. Evan crouched beside her, placing his hand on her arm. He felt a faint pulse of energy beneath her skin, different from anything he had ever felt. It was familiar, though he could not immediately place why. "Her mind is being attacked," he whispered mostly to himself. No human had ever dared speak such words aloud before, but the Queen's eyes, now partially closed, seemed to listen. The alien medics looked confused. "There is no attack. She is fine." "She is not," Evan said firmly. "Something is inside her mind. Something foreign." The medics glanced at each other nervously, unsure how to respond to a human guard who spoke of such things. Yet Evan had spent years studying the palace, observing its strange technologies and the Queen herself. He had learned that humans could see patterns the aliens often missed. The ceremony was canceled immediately. Guards moved the Queen onto a hovering platform, carrying her back to her private chambers. Evan followed silently, making sure no one could harm her during the transport. The nobles whispered among themselves, some angry, some fearful. In the Varelian court, nothing was more terrifying than uncertainty. Once inside the chambers, the medics continued their examination. They used machines that emitted light and sound, trying to diagnose the problem. Evan watched carefully. He noticed something the medics did not. There was a faint energy signature on the Queen's neck, hidden beneath the surface of her skin. It pulsed slowly, almost like a heartbeat, but its rhythm was wrong. Evan crouched closer, feeling it with his fingers. He shivered. He knew that energy. It was the same pattern he had felt in the relics of Earth. artifacts that humans had left behind before the fall. Memories, knowledge, and consciousness had been stored in strange devices, designed to preserve human thought. He could not believe what he suspected. Could it be possible that the Queen had been affected by one of these old human devices? That the energy he felt came from something human? The thought made him uneasy. The Varelians were proud and cruel. They would never admit that humans could touch their minds, even after so many years. "Evan," a soft voice called. It was Mara, another human in the palace, a technician who often repaired the Queen's machines. She had followed him quietly into the chamber. "Do you know what's happening?" I think something human is inside her," he said carefully. "Something from Earth, something we left behind long ago. It's affecting her mind. That's why she collapsed." Mara looked shocked. "Are you saying a human did this?" "No," Evan replied. "Not a human alive. Something from the past. Something we left behind. It's like a memory or a mind trapped in a device. And it's inside the Queen now." Mara frowned. "That is impossible. No human artifact could survive this long, much less affect a Varelian." Evan shook his head. "I've felt it. The energy is familiar. It's human. And it's inside her. If we don't find it soon, she may not survive." The medics noticed their conversation and frowned, but they did not intervene. Evan's instincts told him that the medics would not understand. They could treat the body, but they could not see what was happening in the mind, and that was where the danger was. Evan decided he needed to investigate. He had no proof, no support from the alien court, only his instincts and knowledge of human technology. He needed to find the source of the energy before the Queen's mind was destroyed completely. As the medics worked, Evan examined the Queen's chambers. There were many artifacts from conquered worlds, gifts from alien rulers, and strange machines that emitted quiet hums. His eyes scanned the shelves and corners, looking for anything unusual. He stopped in front of a locked cabinet. It was old, covered in dust, and had markings he recognized from ancient human text. The symbols matched designs he had seen on Earth decades ago, when humans had tried to preserve their minds in devices before the fall. Could this be it? Could this cabinet hold the key to the Queen's collapse? He crouched down and examined the lock. It was sophisticated, designed for alien hands, but Evan had studied their technology. He could pick this lock if he needed to. Before he could act, a voice interrupted him. "Evan, what are you doing?" It was Mara, standing quietly behind him. "I need to see inside," he whispered. "I think this is the source of the energy. Something human left behind long ago. It's affecting the Queen." Mara hesitated but nodded. "Be careful. If anyone sees us." "I know," Evan said. "I have to do this. I have to save her." He knelt, using a small tool to carefully open the lock. The cabinet clicked and he lifted the door. Inside were several small devices, glowing faintly with a soft blue light. Each one seemed to pulse with energy, almost alive. Evan's heart pounded. These were not just machines. They were memories, knowledge, consciousness, preserved by humans before Earth fell, and somehow one of them had connected to the Queen, overwhelming her mind. "This is it," Evan whispered. "This is why she collapsed. This is why the energy is inside her. We need to stop it." Mara looked at the devices, fear in her eyes. "How do we stop it?" Evan shook his head. "I don't know yet, but I will figure it out. We have to. She won't survive much longer if this continues." As they stared at the glowing artifacts, the Queen stirred on her bed. Her eyes fluttered open, showing confusion and pain. She looked at Evan, and for a brief moment he saw a flicker of recognition, as though she remembered something. "Human," the medics gasped. The Queen moved slightly, reaching toward the devices. Her fingers trembled. Evan stepped forward to stop her, knowing that she could destroy herself if the energy became too strong. "This is only the beginning," he whispered to Mara. "We have to understand this. We have to find the truth." And in that moment, Evan realized that the story of humans and their legacy in the galaxy was far from over. Even in defeat, humanity still had power that could reach the mind of a conqueror, and perhaps change the course of the entire Varelian Empire. The grand hall was empty now, silent except for the quiet hum of the palace machinery. Evan and Mara worked quickly, moving the glowing devices from the Queen's chambers to a small room near the servants' quarters. They did not want the aliens to see what they had discovered. If anyone learned that humans had left such devices, it could cause trouble, or worse, death for both of them. Evan studied the devices carefully. They were small cubes, glowing faintly, each one humming with energy. He had seen similar machines on Earth long ago during his training as a human technician. Humans had tried to preserve their minds before Earth fell. These devices contained memories, knowledge, and pieces of consciousness. Somehow, one of them had reached the Queen and it was slowly taking over her mind. "We need to figure out which one it is," Evan said. "We cannot just turn them all off. Some of these may be dangerous if disrupted. And the Queen. She may not survive if we make a mistake." Mara nodded, her face pale in the blue glow. "How do we even begin?" Evan took a deep breath. "We start by understanding how they work. These devices respond to thought patterns. The Queen's mind is strong, but if one of these devices is active inside her, it will try to dominate her thoughts. We need to find the one sending the signal." They set up a small scanner Mara had brought. It was a human tool, old but reliable, capable of detecting energy signatures and neural patterns. Evan connected it to the cubes one by one. Each device pulsed differently, some slowly, some rapidly. Then finally, they found it. A faint blue pulse that matched the energy Evan had felt on the Queen's neck. "That's it," he said quietly. "This one is inside her." Mara leaned closer. "Can we shut it down?" Evan shook his head. "Not yet. I need to study it first. If we disconnect it while it's linked to her mind, it could destroy her consciousness. We have to be careful." Hours passed. The palace outside was quiet, the Varelians unaware of what was happening. Evan worked through the night, studying the device, tracing the energy pulses, trying to understand how it connected to the Queen. Mara assisted him, carefully taking notes and making calculations. Finally, Evan spoke. "This device is like a key in a lock. It contains a human mind, or part of one, and it has attached itself to the Queen's neural network. That is why she collapsed. Her mind cannot resist the human consciousness trying to merge with hers." Mara frowned. "A human consciousness? That means someone from Earth is inside her?" "Not alive," Evan replied. "Someone who left behind their mind in the device before the fall. A memory, a pattern. But it is still alive in a sense. And it is powerful. Strong enough to affect a Varelian queen." The thought made Mara shiver. Humans were no longer powerful in the galaxy. Yet somehow this artifact proved they had left behind something strong. Something that even the Varelians could not resist. Evan stood and stretched. "We need more information. We cannot act blindly. There may be more devices like this. And if the Queen is affected by only one, we need to understand how it works before it gets worse." Mara nodded. "There is a storage room in the palace. It holds old artifacts from conquered planets. Maybe there are more like this." Evan's eyes brightened. "Then that is where we go next. But it will not be easy. The room is heavily guarded and only the Queen and a few trusted officials can enter." They waited until the palace was quiet again. Then, under the cover of night, they made their way through dark corridors. The shadows were deep and every sound echoed strangely. Alien guards passed occasionally, but Evan had memorized their routines. They moved quickly and silently, slipping past patrols and security doors. At last they arrived at the storage room. Its large metal doors were marked with symbols that signified secrecy and danger. Evan examined the lock. It was a complex device designed for alien hands, but he had studied their technology long enough to know how to bypass it. He worked carefully, making sure not to trigger any alarms. The doors clicked open. Inside, the room was filled with rows of shelves, stacked with artifacts from worlds humans had never known. Statues, tools, weapons, and small machines glowed faintly under the dim lights. It was a museum of conquest, each object telling the story of the Queen's empire. Evan walked slowly, scanning the shelves. He could feel the energy of the devices even from a distance. Some pulsed weakly, while others were silent. Then he saw a section of the shelves marked with old Terran symbols, the language of Earth before it fell. "Here," he whispered to Mara. "These are human, left behind centuries ago." They examined the small devices carefully. Each was a memory cube designed to preserve consciousness. Some contained thoughts, some emotions, and some knowledge. Evan realized the danger. If one of these devices had been activated inside the Queen, others could do the same. Humanity's mind could quietly spread, even in the heart of the enemy. Mara pointed to one cube that glowed faintly blue. "That one looks active," Evan nodded. "That is the one affecting her. We need to study it, learn how to disconnect it safely." He picked up the cube carefully. It felt warm, almost alive, and the glow pulsed in rhythm with the Queen's faint heartbeat. Mara shivered. It feels strange. Like it's looking at us, Evan frowned. It is, not alive, but aware. It responds to thought. It knows we are here. We have to be careful. One wrong move and it could attack the Queen's mind further. They carried the device back to their small room, where they had already set up scanners and monitoring tools. For hours they watched the cube, tracing the energy pattern, studying how it connected to the Queen's mind. Evan's understanding grew slowly, each observation revealing more about the human consciousness trapped inside. "This is incredible," he said finally. "Even in defeat, humans left something powerful behind. Something that can reach across space and affect the strongest mind in the galaxy." Mara looked thoughtful. "Do you think the Queen knows it is human? Does she recognize it?" Evan shook his head. "Not yet, but she feels it. Her mind is reacting, fighting it. That is why she collapsed. Her pride, her strength, her entire being is resisting something foreign, something she does not understand but which she cannot ignore." They worked in silence, interrupted only by the faint hum of the scanners. Slowly, a plan began to form in Evan's mind. He realized that the Queen's collapse was not just a medical problem. It was a puzzle. And if they could solve it, they could not only save her but also understand the power humans had left behind. Finally, Evan spoke. "We cannot just shut this down blindly. If we disconnect it wrong, she could die. Or worse, she could become unstable. We need to understand the connection fully before we act." Mara nodded. "So what do we do now?" Evan looked at the glowing cube. "We watch, we study, and we prepare. There may be more like this, and we need to know how they work. Humanity has left a mark on the galaxy, even if no one expected it. And now we are the ones who must understand it before it changes everything." Outside their room, the palace was quiet. Guards patrolled slowly, oblivious to the small human pair working in the shadows. In the Queen's chamber, she rested unconscious but alive. Her many eyes were closed, but beneath the surface her mind wrestled with a foreign presence. Evan and Mara worked through the night, learning, testing, and observing. Each pulse of energy from the cube told them more about the human mind trapped inside. Evan realized that this was more than science. It was history, memory, and life itself, preserved in a way that could change the course of the galaxy. As dawn approached, Evan looked at Mara. "We are part of something bigger than ourselves. This is not just about saving the Queen. This is about understanding what humans left behind and how it can still affect the universe." Mara nodded silently. She understood. The collapse of the Queen was only the beginning. Humans, thought to be defeated and powerless, had left behind tools that could reach the minds of conquerors, challenge the strongest, and perhaps even reclaim what had been lost. Evan stared at the glowing cube. A quiet determination settled in him. He would find the hidden reason behind the Queen's collapse, and he would do it carefully without alerting the alien nobles. Humanity's mark on the galaxy was waking, and he was at the center of it. The sun rose outside the palace windows, casting light across the alien city. The Varelian Empire seemed calm, unaware of the small human rebellion unfolding quietly in the shadows. Evan knew the days ahead would be dangerous. The Queen's mind was fragile, the devices unpredictable, and the consequences of failure severe. But he also knew one thing: humanity had not given up. Even here in the heart of the enemy, humans still had power, and he would use it to uncover the truth. Evan worked late into the night, the glow of the device casting long shadows across the small room. Mara had left to rest, but he stayed, unable to tear his eyes away. The cube pulsed steadily, almost like it was breathing. He could feel it in his mind, faintly at first, then stronger, as if the presence inside the device was aware of him watching. He took a deep breath. "I need to understand you," he whispered. "I need to know why you are inside her." The device responded almost immediately. The pulse grew slightly stronger. Evan frowned. He had expected silence, not reaction. He leaned closer. The cube seemed to hum with recognition, as though it had been waiting for someone to notice it. Evan remembered the Queen's collapse. Her body had been fine, but her mind had reacted violently. This device had invaded her consciousness, pushing her thoughts aside, forcing memories she had never known to surface. The human consciousness inside the cube was not alive in a normal way, but it was powerful, and somehow it had learned to reach across time and space. The next morning, Mara returned. Did you find anything? She asked, seeing the cube glowing more brightly than before. I found something, Evan said. It's more than just a memory. This device contains part of a human mind, a mind designed to influence others. It's like a key in a lock. The Queen's mind is the lock. The human consciousness inside wants to open it, merge with it. Mara's eyes widened. Merge? You mean it's taking over her? Not fully yet, Evan replied. But if it continues, it could. That is why she collapsed. Her mind was resisting. She is strong, but this is something else. They studied the cube together, using the scanner. Evan traced the energy patterns, following the pulse as it moved and shifted. It was almost like a conversation, a silent dialogue between the Queen's mind and the human consciousness. The patterns were complex, impossible to fully read, but Evan began to see a structure. The device was learning. It adapted to the Queen's thoughts, her fears, her memories, even the way she saw her own power. This is incredible, he said quietly. Even humans long dead can still influence the galaxy. They left behind more than machines or weapons. They left minds and thinking, learning minds, and that can survive beyond death. Mara nodded. But it's dangerous. We don't know what will happen if it merges with the Queen. Evan looked toward the chamber where the Queen rested. Her breathing was even now, but her many eyes twitched beneath closed lids. The device had taken a part of her mind already. If they acted too quickly, she could die. If they acted too slowly, the human consciousness might take full control. I think we need to see her, Evan said. Not to touch her, but to observe. The device reacts to her thoughts. We need to understand the connection fully. They moved quietly to the Queen's chambers. The medics had left her alone for the moment. She lay on the hovering bed, still and pale, her hands resting on her many limbs. Evan felt the energy pulse stronger as he approached. It was almost as if the device could sense him near the Queen, feeling the bond he had with her as her guard. Evan crouched beside her. I need you to stay still, he whispered softly. I'm not here to hurt you, the Queen stirred. One of her eyes opened slightly, showing a flicker of color that was not her own. A human blue different from her natural violet. She spoke in a voice that was strange to Evan, soft and hesitant. Evan, she said, naming him directly. He froze. She had never called him by name before. Only humans had that ability. The Queen's mind was reacting. The human consciousness inside was making her aware, trying to communicate. It's working, Evan whispered to Mara. The device is not just influencing her, it's making her conscious of it. She knows something. Mara leaned closer, speaking softly. Do you think she understands that it is human? I don't know yet, Evan said. But we will find out. Carefully. For hours they observed the Queen, watching the subtle changes in her expression, the movements of her limbs, and the pulse of energy around her. Slowly, patterns emerged. When Evan thought of certain memories from Earth, images of cities, machines, and people, the device pulsed in response. When Mara spoke of human history, the pulse shifted again. It was as if the device reacted to thought, learning from them, adapting. This is more than I imagined, Evan said. It's not just a memory. It's alive in a way, even if it's not human anymore. It knows what it wants, and it wants to reach her mind. Mara shivered. And if it succeeds? Then we don't know, Evan admitted. It could merge fully. She could become something different. Part Queen, part human consciousness. Or worse, she could be destroyed entirely. We have to find a way to stop it safely. Evan returned to the cube, studying its inner patterns with the scanner. The more he watched, the more he understood its logic. It was designed to enter minds and adapt to them, learning weaknesses and strengths, shaping thoughts without breaking them completely. Humans had created this device as a last hope, a way to influence the galaxy, even if they were defeated. This is human ingenuity, Evan whispered. Even in defeat, humans left a mark that no one expected. Not the Varelians, not the aliens from other worlds. Only we know how powerful this can be. Mara looked at him quietly. And now it's inside the Queen. That changes everything. Evan nodded. Yes, everything. They spent days studying the cube, observing the Queen, and making careful notes. Each time the Queen stirred, the device pulsed stronger, adapting to her thoughts. It was learning quickly, faster than Evan expected. He realized that the longer it remained active, the harder it would be to remove. Finally, Evan made a decision. We need to test it carefully, he said. We need to see how it reacts to human thought directly. If we can control it, maybe we can guide it or at least understand it fully before it merges with her mind. Mara looked worried. That is dangerous. What if it reacts badly? Evan shook his head. We don't have a choice. Waiting is worse. If we do nothing, it will continue to grow inside her. We may lose her forever. They began their experiment cautiously. Evan focused on a memory from Earth. A simple memory of walking through a human city as a boy. He pictured it clearly, thinking of the streets, the buildings, the sounds. The cube pulsed almost immediately, matching the rhythm of his thoughts. The energy around the queen stirred, and one of her eyes opened fully, showing the faintest hint of human recognition. It works, Evan whispered. It responds to human thought. It listens, it learns. We can communicate with it, guide it, maybe even reason with it. Mara nodded slowly. But it is still dangerous. One wrong thought, one strong emotion, and it could overwhelm her mind. Evan's jaw tightened. I know, but if we can control it, we might be able to save her. And if we do, humanity will have a power that no one expects. Even here, in the heart of the Varelian Empire. Over the next few days, they continued their cautious work. Evan discovered that the device reacted differently to each person. When Mara thought of herself, it pulsed slowly. When Evan thought of Earth and humans, it pulsed rapidly, almost eagerly. The cube was alive in a way, absorbing information, learning from those who observed it and influencing the queen in subtle ways. One evening, the queen stirred more strongly than before. Her eyes opened fully and she spoke in the alien tongue first, then hesitated. Her voice shifted, strange tones blending together, part Varelian, part something else. She said a word in English, perfectly clear, Evan. Evan froze. This was no longer just influence. The queen was aware of the human consciousness, recognizing it in some way. She knows, Mara whispered. Evan nodded, his mind racing. Yes, and that means the device is succeeding. Slowly, carefully, it is making her understand. We may have only one chance to guide it safely before it merges completely. He looked at Mara, determination in his eyes. We will find the hidden reason behind her collapse. And we will do it before it is too late. Humanity left a mark on this galaxy, and now it is waking. We cannot fail. Outside, the Varelian palace remained silent, unaware of the quiet revolution taking place in its shadows. Inside, a human guard and a human technician worked carefully, watching, learning, and preparing for what would come next. The Queen's mind was a battlefield, and humanity's legacy was the weapon no one expected. Evan knew the days ahead would be dangerous. The Queen was strong, the device was powerful, and the consequences of failure were severe. But he also knew something else. Humanity had not given up. Even here in the enemy's heart, humans still had power, and he was at the center of it. Evan paced quietly in the small room, watching the glowing cube pulse steadily on the table. Mara sat nearby, her eyes fixed on the device, her hands trembling slightly. Over the last few days, they had learned more about the human consciousness trapped inside. But with each passing hour, it became clearer that the Queen's mind was changing. She's stronger now, Mara whispered. Her mind is responding faster to the device. It's not just influencing her, she's beginning to understand it. Evan nodded. Yes, and that is dangerous. If she realizes too much too quickly, she could collapse again, or worse. She could fight it too hard and harm herself. Outside, the palace remained quiet. Most of the Varelians had returned to their usual routines, unaware of the secret struggle happening in the Queen's chambers. But inside, the Queen's mind was a battlefield. The human consciousness was no longer passive. It was communicating, reaching out through thoughts, memories, and feelings. Evan crouched closer to the cube, examining the pulses. They were no longer random. Each beat seemed to match a thought or memory of the Queen. It was learning her mind, adapting to her fears, her desires, even her pride. And slowly it was making her aware of its presence. She's waking up, Evan said quietly. We need to be ready. This is the moment when she will start to understand what's happening inside her mind. Mara's eyes widened. Do you think she will recognize it's human? Evan hesitated. I don't know. But if she does, it could change everything. They moved carefully to the Queen's chambers. She lay on the hovering bed, her breathing even, her many eyes closed. But beneath the surface, her mind was stirring. Evan could feel it through the cube. The energy pulsed faster, stronger, as if she were aware of them approaching. Evan stepped closer. Queen Zarithra, he said softly. I am here to help. You are not alone. Her eyes opened slowly. One of them glowed with a human blue, flickering alongside the natural violet. She looked at him directly, and for a moment, the queen's usual pride and arrogance were gone. She was confused, afraid, and curious all at once. Evan, she whispered in English, her voice trembling slightly. Evan froze. She had spoken his language, clearly, completely, without hesitation. The human consciousness inside the cube was influencing her already, blending with her own mind. Mara stepped closer, whispering softly. She's responding. She knows something. Evan nodded. Yes, but we have to be careful. One wrong move and it could all go wrong. The queen struggled to sit up, her many limbs moving in uncoordinated motions. Evan stepped forward to steady her. Take it slow, he said. You are safe. Her eyes widened as she looked at the cube on the table. What is that? She asked, her voice a mixture of curiosity and fear. Evan glanced at Mara, then back at the queen. It is something from your past, he said carefully. Something human. It is part of a mind that survived from Earth long ago. It is inside you now, but it does not wish to harm you. It wishes to communicate. The queen's eyes flickered, confusion and understanding mixing together. Human, she repeated. Inside me? Yes, Evan said softly. It is learning from you, and you are learning from it. That is why you collapsed before. Your mind was fighting it, but now you are stronger. You can understand it. The queen's gaze shifted to the cube. She reached out with one hand almost instinctively. Evan stopped her gently. Do not touch it yet, he warned. It is powerful. We need to guide it carefully. She pulled her hand back, trembling slightly. Her eyes glowed faintly with a new color, a mix of violet and human blue. She looked at Evan with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Why me? She asked. Why am I the one it chose? Evan knelt beside her bed. I don't know, he admitted. But you are strong, and it needed a mind strong enough to resist it while still learning. That is why you survived its influence so far. The queen sat quietly, trying to process what he had said. Slowly, her breathing evened, and the pulsing of the cube seemed to synchronize with her own heartbeat. She was beginning to merge, not fully, but enough to understand that there was something human inside her mind. Mara spoke softly from across the room. Evan, it's reacting to her emotions. Look at the cube. Evan turned to see the cube glowing brighter as the queen's eyes shifted colors. It pulsed faster with her heartbeat, almost as if it were alive. The human consciousness inside was responding to her, learning her mind as she learned its presence. She's awake, Evan whispered, and she's aware of it. This is the first step. If we guide it carefully, we may be able to help her understand everything, the reason it is here and what it wants. The queen tilted her head, focusing on Evan. I see you, she said, her voice steadying. I see something human. It is inside me. It speaks, it thinks. It is not like me, Evan nodded. Yes, it is human. From Earth. Long ago, humans left parts of their minds behind in devices like this. You are feeling one of them. It is not dangerous if we guide it carefully, but you must remain calm. Her eyes flickered with uncertainty. Calm, she repeated. I am not sure I can. You can, Evan said firmly. We will help you. We will guide it together. You are stronger than you know. Slowly, the queen's breathing became steady, her movements more controlled. The pulsing of the cube slowed as well, almost as if it were responding to her control. Evan realized something important. The queen was not merely a victim. She was beginning to assert her own strength against the human consciousness inside her. She is learning, he whispered to Mara. She is not just being influenced. She is understanding it and controlling it. This is incredible, Mara nodded. But it is risky. One wrong thought, one surge of emotion, and she could collapse again. Evan agreed, but he felt hope for the first time. Yes, but she is beginning to merge carefully, slowly. This is what we needed. Understanding first, then control. We can help her. The queen looked at the cube again. Why did humans create this? She asked. Her voice was curious, calm now, as if she were speaking to a student trying to understand a lesson. They wanted to survive, Evan explained. They knew their world would fall. They wanted to leave a part of themselves behind, knowledge, thoughts, memories, something that could influence the galaxy even after they were gone. That is why it exists, and now it has reached you. She nodded slowly, trying to process the information. And you are human? She asked, turning her gaze to him. Yes, Evan said. I am, and I will help you understand it, control it, and survive this. For a long moment, the room was quiet except for the soft hum of the cube. The Queen's eyes shifted colors slowly, blending violet and blue. Her many limbs moved gently, no longer restless. She was beginning to merge her own mind with the human consciousness inside. Evan felt a sense of awe. Humanity, thought to be defeated, was reaching into the mind of the most powerful ruler in the galaxy, and she was beginning to recognize it. You are strong, the Queen said finally, and careful. You do not seek to destroy. You guide. Yes, Evan replied. That is all we can do. Guide carefully. Protect you. Understand what is happening. Slowly, the Queen's eyes closed for a moment, and when she opened them again, they glowed with a steadier blue. She spoke clearly, her voice calm. I understand. Part of me is human. I feel it. It is not my enemy. Evan smiled slightly. Exactly. That is the first step. Understanding. Once you accept it, you can control it. The Queen nodded slowly. She reached out again, and this time Evan allowed her to touch the cube. The glow pulsed, not violently but gently, as if the device recognized her control. You are alive, she said softly, eyes wide. I can feel it. I can understand. Yes, Evan said. You can. And now we can work together. Slowly. Carefully. You and the human consciousness inside you. We will uncover the reason behind your collapse, and we will find out why it reached you. Outside, the palace remained silent. Inside, the Queen's mind was beginning to awaken in a new way. Part Varelian, part human, aware, powerful, and ready to understand a secret that had waited centuries to be revealed. Evan knew the days ahead would be difficult. The Queen's mind was strong, but the human consciousness inside her was powerful as well. They had to proceed carefully, step by step. But for the first time, hope filled him. Humanity, though defeated, had left a legacy strong enough to reach the mind of a conqueror. And now that legacy was awakening. The palace was quiet, but inside the Queen's chambers a storm of thoughts swirled. Queen Zarithra sat on her hovering bed, her many eyes glowing with a steady mixture of violet and blue. The human consciousness inside her was no longer hidden. It pulsed gently, a presence she could feel, sense, and now understand. Evan stood nearby, watching her closely. Mara was beside him, holding the small scanner that measured the energy of the cube. Both humans had been working tirelessly for days, guiding the Queen, helping her control the foreign consciousness inside her mind. And now finally they could see the results. The Queen opened her eyes fully and looked at them. I unsee it clearly now, she said, her voice calm but filled with power. The human mind inside me, it is not an enemy. It is part of me, and I understand why it is here. Evan stepped forward carefully. Do you understand its purpose? He asked. She nodded slowly. It was sent long ago, from a world humans lost. From Earth. It was meant to survive, to influence, to guide, even if they could not survive themselves. It is human ingenuity, reaching across time and space. Mara's eyes widened. And it reached you. That is why you collapsed before. Your mind was fighting it, and now you are merging with it. Yes, the Queen said softly. I can feel it. I can sense their thoughts, their memories, their purpose. It is incredible, Evan swallowed. Then you understand why it happened. And you know now that it is not dangerous as long as we guide it carefully. The Queen looked around the room. Her eyes settled on Evan. You, humans, you are clever. You survived when no one expected, and now you have reached me. You have shown me the truth, Evan nodded. Yes, Your Majesty. We wanted to help. Humanity may have fallen, but it has not been defeated. This device, this mind, it proves we still have power. Even here in your empire, we still have influence. The Queen leaned back slightly. Her violet blue eyes glowed steadily. Power. Yes, I can feel it. Not as a weapon, not as a soldier, but as understanding. Humans left something behind that even I could not resist. Something that teaches, something that guides, something that survives, Mara whispered. It's working. She is not afraid anymore. She understands. Yes, Evan said. And now we can decide what to do next. You are the Queen, but part of you is human. And together you can change everything. The queen's many limbs moved slowly, gracefully, as if testing her new awareness. I feel different, strong, aware, more than I was before. The human mind inside me, it does not control me. But I can feel it. I can use it to see the truth. Evan smiled faintly. Then you are ready. The queen looked at him steadily. Yes, and now, I will act. I will show the others that the Empire has changed, that the humans are not weak, that their minds can reach even the strongest rulers. And I will not be the same as before. I am stronger now. Together, we are stronger. Mara stepped forward carefully. Your Majesty, what will you do? The queen rose from her bed, her many limbs moving with grace and power. Her voice was firm, clear, and commanding. I will send a message to the council. I will declare the end of fear, the end of subjugation, and the beginning of understanding. The humans will no longer be forgotten, and I will no longer be bound by pride alone. I will lead with wisdom, with strength, with knowledge from those who came before. Evan felt a surge of hope. Humanity, thought to be lost, had reached the mind of the most powerful ruler in the galaxy, and she had accepted it, understood it, and now would act with it. The queen's eyes glowed brighter. Prepare the council. Summon the leaders of the Empire. I will speak to them, not as a tyrant, but as a ruler who has learned, who has understood the power of humanity and the legacy it left behind. Evan nodded. We will help you. Mara and I, we will guide you. Yes, the queen said, and together we will show the galaxy that humans are not gone. They are alive in ways no one expected, and now they have a voice. Through me, they prepared carefully. The council chamber was vast, filled with hundreds of Varelian nobles, all curious, wary, and tense. The queen entered, her many limbs moving with authority, her eyes glowing violet blue. The council fell silent. Your Majesty, one of the nobles began, what is the meaning of your collapse? What has happened to you? The queen's voice rang clear, calm, and commanding. I have been influenced by something unexpected, something human. It is not a threat. It is a truth of minds that survived, that endured, that reached across time and space. Whispers filled the chamber. The nobles looked at each other in shock. Humans had long been considered weak, inferior, and defeated. Now the queen spoke of human influence inside her mind. Evan stood quietly at her side. He watched the reactions, noting the fear, the surprise, the disbelief. But the queen did not waver. She raised one of her hands, and the chamber fell completely silent. I am stronger now, she said. Stronger than before because I have learned, because I have understood. Humanity may have lost battles, may have lost their worlds, but they left something behind. Knowledge, thought, strength, a mind. That endures. She paused, letting the words sink in. And I have merged with it. I am part Varelian and part human consciousness. Together we are wiser, stronger, capable of understanding what the galaxy needs. A hush fell over the chamber. The nobles did not move, did not speak. Even the most powerful among them were struck silent by her presence and her words. I declare, the queen continued, her voice firm, that all planets under our control will be treated fairly. Conquest and fear will end. Understanding, respect, and knowledge will guide our rule. And humans will no longer be considered weak. They have left a legacy, a voice, and it will be heard. The council erupted in whispers, some shocked, some angry, some in disbelief. But the queen's calm authority silenced the room. She did not shout. She did not demand obedience. She spoke truth combined with the wisdom of two minds, and one Varelian, one human. Evan felt a smile tug at his lips. Humanity, even thought defeated, had changed the course of the Empire. Through the queen, their influence was alive, powerful, and undeniable. Mara leaned close to him. She's done it. She's fully aware now, and she is leading with it. Evan nodded. Yes, and now, humanity has a voice that even the strongest cannot ignore. The queen will carry it forward. Outside the council chamber, Varelian ships began to shift, fleets preparing not for war but for peace. The message was clear. The humans had survived not through force but through ingenuity, legacy, and the enduring strength of their minds. The queen returned to her chambers later, calm and resolute. She looked at Evan and Mara. You helped me understand. You guided me, and together, We have changed the Empire. The humans are no longer forgotten. Their minds live within me. And through me they have power. Evan nodded. It was your strength, Your Majesty. You accepted it, controlled it, and now the galaxy will see the truth. Humanity never truly fell. It endured quietly, and now it is awake. The Queen's eyes glowed steadily.
Yes, awake.
And strong, and now we will see what the future holds, Mara smiled faintly. It is a new beginning. For humans, and for the Empire. Evan looked toward the glowing cube. It pulsed faintly, as if acknowledging their success. He knew that the human consciousness inside it had completed its purpose, not to destroy, not to conquer, but to survive, guide, and awaken. The Queen moved to the balcony of her chambers. Outside, the stars of the galaxy stretched endlessly. Fleets moved silently in orbit, planets awaited messages, and the Empire itself began to shift, slowly, carefully, toward something new. Evan stood beside her, feeling the quiet pride of humanity. They had been defeated in battle, but not in spirit. Their minds had endured, and now through the Queen they had influence, understanding, and a voice no one could ignore. The Queen turned to Evan and Mara. The galaxy will remember this moment. Humanity has left a mark, stronger than anyone expected, and together, we will shape the future. Evan felt a quiet satisfaction. The struggle had been long, dangerous, and uncertain, but humanity had survived. Through knowledge, legacy, and courage, they had found a way to endure. And now the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The stars shone brightly above, silent witnesses to the beginning of a new era. Humanity, once thought defeated, had awakened through the mind of a conqueror. And the Empire, vast and powerful, would never be the same again. Evan looked at the horizon. We did it, he whispered softly. Humanity is alive, and this is only the beginning. The Queen stood tall beside him, her violet blue eyes reflecting the stars. Yes, she said. And now, we move forward, together.